first of all, when I introduce the percent equation, I want to point out that you already know how to do all of these kinds of problems using a percent proportion. So today we're going to learn how to do something new, and I want you to be able to, and on the test you're going to have to be able to know both of these methods to be able to use the percent equation and the percent proportion. So the things that we're using today is actually kind of a translation from English into math, and it's using a technique called the percent equation. It's really just translating things into basic mathematical terms. So Florida has 60,000 square miles, and 10% of Florida is covered with water. How many square miles of Florida is underwater? All right, first of all, I want you to use a proportion to answer the question. Go ahead and do the work and find the answer. So because 10% is 10 out of 100, I set up that as the ratio of one of my proportions. And the other one, I used x and 60,000. Since 100% of the area of Florida is 60,000, what I want to know is what is 10%. So I'm going to have to go ahead and cross multiply and solve for x. Go ahead and do that. So when I solve that, I get 6,000 square miles as the answer, that 6,000 square miles of Florida is underwater. Now, there's some other ways to do that. I could just change 10% into a decimal, which is 0.1 or 1/10, and multiply it by 60,000. All right, since I'm multiplying by, I'm moving the decimal one place, I'm going to make it to 6,000. So comparing these two methods here, obviously using the proportions here took quite a bit more work, a bit more work to do that. So we can see that they're both just as good of getting the work done, but one is a little bit more efficient and faster. All right, so I'm going to teach you something called the percent equation, and basically this is about translating some math, or I should say translating a sentence into some math. So here's how it's going to go. So the first thing I'm going to look at 4 different words that I'm going to translate from English into math. Whenever I have the word what, that's my missing piece of information, I'm going to use some algebra. I'm going to throw in a variable, all right? I know a lot of people like to use x for that. The word is, you guys already know that in math is basically means equals. Now, for this particular math here, that whenever we're dealing with a percent, to make it easy to do the work, let's just change it to a decimal. So I'm going to say when there's a percent, we're going to change it to a decimal. And finally, the word of, when we see that, and you guys already know that means times. Okay, so maybe that's a dot or something like that, or parentheses, that's some way of showing multiplication there. All right, so I'm going to start off with this sentence, and I'm going to look at it a piece at a time. I've got what is, I have a percent, I have of, and I have a number here. So what is, we said, is a variable that I don't know is x. What number is? Well, that's equals. 25%, I changed that to a decimal. That is 0.25. Notice I'm as the sentence going from left to right, I'm writing it from left to right. Of means time, so I'm going to use either a dot or maybe some parentheses here, of 60. Okay, so now I basically have x is equal to 0.25 or 25 hundredths times 60. All right, and then I can basically, now I just do the work here. I can solve for x here, just simply multiply 0.25 times 60, and I can throw that on my calculator, and I will get, or I can do the long multiplication with that as well, but I will get x is equal to 15. So what number is 25% of 60? Well, it is 15. Okay. Similarly, if I look at the next question, find 25% of 60, if you see the word find, we can basically treat like that's the same thing as what is. And so, in fact, this sentence and this sentence are saying the exact same thing. What number is 25% of 60? Well, find 25% of 60. Basically, I treat that as what number, or what is 25% of 60. So what is 25% of 60? The what is x, is equals, change the percent to a decimal, of means times, and 60. And again, I get the exact same math I had before here, so I'm going to get x is equal to 15 again. So 25% of 60 is 15. All right, let's do one more together, and then I'm going to have you guys doing some of these on your own. All right. So again, translating this from English into math, I start off with the number 15 becomes equals what is x, what percent of means times, and 60. All right, so now I have an equation in here where I'm going to be solving for x. 15 equals to x times 60. How is x not by itself? It's being multiplied by 60. So what do I do to get rid of it? I divide by 60 on both sides here. So now I get x equals to 15 over 60. All right, and I throw that into my calculator, and my calculator will actually give me a decimal 0.25, but it does ask me what percent. I do have to be careful when I look back at the answer there. It says what percent, so I need to change that to a percent, and I will 2/25 hundredths is 25%. All right, so now I'm going to ask you to go ahead and try to do the rest of this page and simply plugging these, translating these, and then checking. Actually, let's just have you go through 5 through 8 to begin with, check with those, and then we'll do the rest 9 through 14. So here are the solutions for 5 through 8. Please take a look and compare your answers with those. If you got something different and you're not sure why and what mistakes you made, please ask and get some help on that. Now I'm going to ask you to go ahead and do just problems 9 and 10 on a sticky note. Do on 2 separate sticky notes. Do number 9 on a sticky note, put it on the board, then do number 10 on a sticky note, put it on the board. Just want to check for your understanding there. And then when you're done with those, go ahead and finish off that page. Okay, so here are the answers for 11 through 14. Please check yours. If you get something different and you're not sure why, please get some help. Keeping in mind, a lot of people have trouble with 0.2% when they change that into a decimal. Remember, you move the decimal two places to the left. Same with 2.5%, we move the decimal 2 places to the left to get those. So just remember, we're changing a percent to a decimal is always moving 2 places, even when we have some very small percentages in there. And finally, one more problem for this particular section here on number 15. Let's say we have a television that costs $350. If we're going to add a 7% tax to it, what is the total cost of the television? Okay, it's one thing to find the actual tax. It's another thing to find the total cost. And what many students do, and this is perfectly fine, but it just takes a little bit longer, is they find the 7% tax, and then they add it to the original price. And that will give them the total cost involved, okay? But I'm going to ask you guys to do something a little bit different, to think about this problem a little bit differently. I'm going to take the $350 and realize that I'm not actually paying 7% of that. I have to first pay the first 100% of it. I have to pay all of it, 100% of $350, and then I'm going to pay another 7%. So I'm actually paying 107% total is my total cost. All right, so I'm going to take $350 and I'm going to multiply it by 107%, which as a decimal, if I move the decimal 2 places to the left, will give me 1.07. So just so that we understand here, that 1 right here shows us the 100% of the original value of the $350 plus another 7% added that we're going to get. So I'm going to throw that into my calculator as 350 times 1.07, and that gives me $374.50. Okay? I would like you to show me that on a sticky note, but this time show me on a sticky note for, let's say, 8%. So go ahead and take the same television, $350, and I want you to show me on a sticky note how much that's going to cost if you are going to add an 8% tax on it. What's the total cost if you add the original price plus the 8% tax? What's that going to be?